messed up on the first take. So I'm going to just double check that I'm live on Facebook because this doesn't always work the way I want it to. So let me just get over there really fast. Um, okay, yep, we got that going. Let me get over here to my live feed. And here we go. Let me get to the manage this thing because otherwise you all can't see me. It only goes to just me and I don't want to do that. All right, here we go. Public. All right. So we are going live right now talking about finding good flip properties. And what in the world does that mean? Well, um, if you're a real estate investor, or if you want to be a real estate investor, flipping houses is like that cool thing, right? That because HGTV is the one that made it all cool. And so that's actually what we're going to be training on. We have a full workshop coming up in April 25th. So we're going to do a full workshop on that. So the next couple Fridays leading up to that workshop, I'm going to talk about flipping houses. And so where do we start? Well, we got to start by finding them. And then we fund them, then we fix them, and the sale is the flip. So the 4Fs. So we're going to start today with just how in the world do we find them, and not how do we go out there and market for them. If you go back to a couple of trainings, I've already done that. I've covered that in our deal finding trainings and how to be a good deal finder or a wholesaler in some areas. But more specifically today, I want to tell you about how to actually. I hope you can hear me. I just realized that. Let me see. Testing. Yeah, you can hear me. All right. So what are we looking for in flip properties? So we go back and we use data. All right. So this is what I want you to do. If buying a flip property is what is interesting to you, if this is what you want to do, then I want you to use data to do it. Okay. And so I'm gonna just show you some of the data that we use. So that you can choose your flip property. All right, and so this is the MLS. This is the multiple listing service here locally. And what I would just want to show you this is the average sales price of properties right now. You can see it's hovers around 300,000, a little bit high, a little bit below. But this is our marker, okay? Because as a fix and flipper, if you want to make this a business, and y'all, if you're on the fence, like you're not sure if you want to do this but don't know how to get started, don't know where to go, come to our events. Come connect, learn, and build your business with Deal Finders. Deal Finders Club is in Columbia. We're live online, obviously, multiple times a week. Next Wednesday, we're going to be on site at a new construction property. It's a stick up. We had dirt. Now we've got most of a house already there, so we're going to walk through it and share the numbers, how we found it, and how we're doing those renovations. So if you're on the fence, you don't know where to get started, come out, come visit us. If you can't, just reach out, send me a message, send me a text or email. Love to help you see if we can't figure out what your next step might be. But if you're at this point, you're ready to figure out what to buy. Here's if I was to start over, this is what I would do. I would ask an agent to tell me what's the average sales price in our area. All right, just go to the MLS, tell me what's the average sales price. Here it's about 300. All right, and what are we gonna do with that? That's gonna be our max, because when we're fixing flipping, we want to be able to sell to the largest buyer pool, and we want to be able to sell quickly. So staying under that average keeps us where more people can afford it. Now, whatever market you're in, this may be totally different. That's why we use this as our guide. All right, so we want that to be our after repair value. That's what we want a property to sell for at the end. It's the max of 300. Well, now what do we do? Okay, that's helpful, but now how do we find the next piece? Well, if that's our max, then we go backwards and start figuring out what can we buy. So I think I'm still sharing my calculator. Yes, you can see it. Guys, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We won't be here long. I'll be here for another 5 minutes on this. But if you have questions, put them in the chat and I'll see if I can answer them. All right, 300,000 That is our max. That's what we want to sell for. All right. Well, now we've got to take out the cost to selling that. So if we take 300,000 times, write this down, point 0.9, what we like to do is 0.92. If I do it in my head, you guys, I just do 0.9 because it's easier. It's easier to do if I can take off 10%. But we're taking off 8% for the sales commission and closing costs for you to sell that $300,000 house. So if you sold it at 300, you would walk away from the closing table with about 276. These are rough numbers. This is for estimating and budgeting, okay? 276, right? Well, now what? Well, if I'm walking away with that, well, how much if I flip this property, hopefully you're planning to make a little bit of profit, a little bit of a return from that. So you would want to take that out next. Now, I don't know what you want to do in your business. I know what we do in our business, and the deal partners that we work with, I know where we start and what we do, where we build, and what levers we look at to figure out how much profit should be built in. Some people use percentages, some people use just numbers, but you got to figure that out for your business. Okay, these are questions for you and your business. What makes it worth it to you to go and invest your time, your energy, your money, maybe even your blood, sweat, and tears into a project? How much of a return are you expecting? Okay, that's up to you. That's a personal business decision. So I'm just going to throw out a number here because it's a nice, easy thing to use. I'm going to say 50,000. Why not? Now that is not in any way trying to tell you that that's what you're going to make by flipping houses. Y'all, here's a disclaimer. This isn't trying to make it sound like that's what we make every time, right? I'm just throwing this out there. You would decide for yourself, okay? So we take out 50,000. All right. So that would be where at 226,000. That would be the most that we could pay if we were all in. All of our expenses are in. We've written a check. So if I could go right now, write a check for 226,000, then sell the property for 300, then we would have a 50,000 profit. I hope that makes sense. Y'all ask questions if it doesn't make sense. I'll see if I can catch you. All right, so that's 226. Now what goes into the 226? That goes your financing costs, your holding costs, your repair costs, and then your purchase price. All right, so we can start working from there. But this is why we did this exercise, because now we know how much money we are going to need to invest in a flip property in this market at this time with this goal, right? So $225,000 is about what you would have to risk and put out there to do this flip, okay, in this market. So use this as a guide, use this as a point to get to. Now, I'm not talking about how to fund it. That's actually going to be next week's training of how to actually fund and where to get to the 226. So I'm not going to get into that. But let's break this down. So if we know that we can be all in at 226, that means we could buy a house for 225 and invest $1,000 in renovations, and we're there, right? 225 cash plus 1,000 reno, we're there. Or we can buy it for 20,000 in cash and then spend 201,000 on renovations, and we're there, right? It doesn't really matter how you break it down, but now you have a target to go for. And so now you can go and ask this agent that helped you here, or your friends, or your family, or wholesalers, or deal finders, or partners. Hey, do you have any properties that are that are less than 200,000 that I might be able to fix and renovate that maybe need some love, right? You start looking. So now you can look at what's available at 100,000. If a house is for sale for 100, can it be worth up to 300, and how much would that be? So a couple other things to look at. This is where I wanted to show you guys is the statistics of it all. And let me go back to the max. That's great. So now we could look at homes for sale, or I'm sorry, closed sales, and what type of property would be the best to do. would you want to do a one bedroom property? Well, all of last month, eight one bedrooms sold. Okay. What about three bedrooms? All of 458. So what does that mean? That means there's more buyers for a three bedroom. There's probably also more three bedrooms out there, right? So if you wanted to dive in here, we could look at the inventory and say, okay, well I think three bedrooms is the right way to go. How much supply is available for three bedrooms? There's 2.5 months supply. There is, of course, this camera's in my way. 1,300 available for the three bedroom. What about that one bedroom? How many are available? Oh, there's only 26 available. Well, guys, if there's 8 that sell every month and there's only 26 available, there's a third chance that yours is gonna sell versus 1,300 and how many was it that sold? Closed sales 458. So which one's better? They're actually about the same, right? It's percentage wise, okay? So you can dive into these statistics and figure out what's the best thing to buy. Bedrooms is just an example. This is where I think you should spend your time is the square footage. In your market space, are houses all over 2,000 or are they all over 3,000? Okay, so what you would do again is you review how many are selling, versus how many are available. Okay, and if with the different sizes, with the different bedrooms, and then you can decide what your buy box is. Biggest thing for you guys to remember is looking for the properties that are less than the average in your market, and then that are selling, at least selling, right? They can't be stale. So 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, is it 4 bedrooms, whatever that is, it may not matter in your market space. Right here, where I just did that math, it looked like 1 bedroom versus 3 bedroom didn't really matter, okay? As far as the percentage of sold, right? So it might be the square footage, okay? So look at that. The last piece that I'm going to give you, because I told you this would be about 15 minutes, I think I'm long, is schools. When we're flipping properties, there is a difference. Now there's multiple websites, and I'm not going to show you or go through all these different websites. Let me just stop sharing this. Go to and search for the best elementary school. Why elementary school? Because that seems to be where people make decisions. I think high schools, kids can drive, they can go wherever they want, and just something about the elementary schools. Now this is our experience. This is my experience from our market space, where we have 2 schools. Literally, you could probably hit a golf ball between the 2. This elementary school is higher rated. Out of 10, this one's like an 8, and this one's a 6. And these houses sell for a lot more and go a lot faster, and they fly off the shelf. We have people driving or buying from across town and fighting over deals or properties because of this elementary school versus this elementary school. Okay, so whatever site you want to use, whatever statistics you want to use. Unfortunately, I don't think you can ask an agent. Correct me if I'm wrong, agents. I think they're not allowed to tell you anything about school district. I think that's a thing. So you got to do your own research on that. But looking for, if I had to decide, if I had 2 properties that I could buy, one's in this school district, that's a 6 out of 10, and this one's in an 8 out of 10, I'm going for the 8 out of 10. Okay? That's how you're going to find the best flip properties. It doesn't mean you can't flip the other ones, guys. I'm not saying that. And if you're trying to do 20, 30, 40 flips a year, you can't be every property in the best school district. But if you're trying to do 3, 4, 5, you're doing this as a side hustle, or you're replacing an income, and you don't need to get to $1 million a year. You're really happy with 3 or 4 deals and $100 and something thousand. Again, I'm sorry, I keep throwing numbers out there. That's no income claims. Okay, Facebook, don't get mad at me. So if you're doing just a couple of deals, be selective on which deals. okay? And you have that opportunity to do that. Um, Not saying that you should select yourself out of doing anything. When it's time to make the decision and you're ready to do a deal, you do what's out there, okay? But if you had the chance to choose, you choose the price, the after repair value that's under the average. You choose the square footage that moves the best. You choose the beds and baths that moves the fastest. And then you choose the school district that is the higher rated. Okay? Those are the things that I'll leave with you. And if you have any questions, let me know. Love to hear from you. Send me a message, send me a text if you want to get into what might be your next steps in this business. We'll be happy to have a chat with you. Our next event is Wednesday. We do something every week. If you're not in the Facebook group, REI Deal Finders, the Facebook group, we would love to see you there. All right. Well, I will talk to you later. Bye. Have a great weekend.